Many people may not realise the extent of power the UK government has to act and make decisions without consulting Parliament, much less canvass the opinion of the general British public, all of which may have devastating consequences for the entire country. And I feel compelled to do a video about this because of what's going on in Ukraine. Very briefly, Sky News reports that British Storm Shadow missiles have been fired into Russia for the first time. Long-range missiles being something of a red line, according to Russia, not all that long ago. But more about that in a moment. So the UK government can make decisions using what is referred to as the royal prerogative. This is powers inherently vested in the monarch, but which are more and more exercised by the government in power without any specific permissions or consultations or anything else. Of course, there are parliamentary committees which question government actions and hold them to account. And of course, there are many different things about which the government will consult Parliament. But there are, of course, many things that the government can do without consulting Parliament, without consulting the British public, without direct conversations with the monarch, and just make those decisions and take those actions themselves. Now, just recently, Keir Starmer was questioned about the use of these missiles, and Sky News reports that he ultimately dodged the question. Reading from Sky News just a few hours ago, they say, as they've been reporting earlier in the week, the US has allowed Ukraine to fire American-made long-range weapons into Russian territory. The first time the world learns whether the UK will do the same with its Storm Shadow missiles will probably be the moment they are actually used, they said just 3 hours ago. Until and unless that happens, it makes sense for Keir Starmer to keep people guessing. They say it was likely why Keir Starmer and his team repeatedly dodged the question when quizzed by journalists on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Brazil just this week. However, skipping back to the top of this report, Sky News now says that British-made Storm Shadow missiles have been fired into Russian territory by Ukraine for the first time, according to a source talking to Sky News. Sky News said that a spokesperson for Keir Starmer said that his office would not be commenting on reports or operational matters, nor has Ukraine confirmed the use of Storm Shadow missiles into Russia, but the deployment has been widely reported in British media. It was widely anticipated that the UK, like the US, would finally decide to permit the use of its missiles beyond Ukraine's borders. Russia responded to America's decision with fury, formally reducing the threshold at which it could use nuclear weapons. And that is the real key point here. I'll come back to in a moment where Russia said that this was a red line using long-range missiles. Sky News goes on, though Russia's made similar threats at various stages throughout the war when Ukrainian allies have upped their support. Now, what I also find quite alarming here is this just a couple of days ago, military assistance to Ukraine since the Russian invasion. This is a research briefing published in the House of Commons just a couple of days ago. Looking through this, I will link this in the description below. You can go and read it. But it says here, several countries, including the UK, have said that weapons donated to Ukraine could be used in self-defense to strike legitimate military targets inside Russia. To date, those permissions have not extended to the use of Western-supplied long-range missiles against targets deep into Russian territory. That operational caveat has, however, been under review. In response, in May 24, Russia accused NATO and the US of provoking a new level of tension. And in September 24, President Putin said that the use of long-range missiles against Russian targets was a red line that would amount to a direct NATO participation in the conflict, which is obviously something that I think a lot of people would like to see avoided. Whilst there's a lot of people for and a lot of people against the support for Ukraine in this conflict, I think a lot of people have also said that NATO's direct participation in the conflict would escalate things worldwide and quite likely towards World War III. In mid-November, and in response to the deployment of thousands of North Korean soldiers to Russia, which was reported just recently, to support Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the Biden administration reportedly lifted those restrictions. for long-range missiles. The Russian Foreign Ministry said that any use of long-range missiles to attack Russian territory would be met with an adequate and significant response. Now, coming back to the Sky News report, and once again, why this is potentially disastrous for much of the West, it says Putin's spy chief warns of punishment for the West. Putin's spy chief warns that the West risks disastrous consequences after Ukraine's first use of US long-range missiles in an attack on Russia yesterday. Attempts by individual NATO allies to participate in providing long-range strikes with Western weapons deep into Russian territory will not go unpunished. The head of the Foreign Intelligence Service told the National Defense magazine. And all of this just hours after Russia lowered the threshold for the use of nuclear weaponry. Now, if all of that wasn't bad enough, there's yet a further report that suggests that the UK has plans to scrap warships, military helicopters and fleets of drones to save money despite all of these threats abroad. Now, £500 million may sound like a lot of money, but saving £500 million over 5 years with all of this conflict going on, when you consider what money is spent elsewhere, billions of pounds spent on lots of other things, which I've covered in other videos, this does lead me to question the decision to scrap warships, military helicopters and fleets of drones just to save money. It's apparently part of a restructuring plan and to modernise the armed forces, which itself has been significantly reduced in size because of decades of cost-saving cuts, much like the police service and lots of other things. On the other hand, the MOD says that the equipment that is being decommissioned is part of a accelerated retirement plan because it's been selected as being outdated, and that military chiefs need to focus the limited money and personnel that they have on the weapon systems most suited to modern warfare. On the other hand, Sky News says that some experts say that the use of these missiles will only have a marginal effect, largely because Ukraine has a limited supply, and at, I think, some £2 million apiece, they will take time and obviously money to replenish, and therefore they'll have a marginal effect. But for me personally, that doesn't really negate or relay the feeling that this is a significant escalation in this conflict, and I don't think I'm alone. But I just felt like I'd do a quick video because, again, I think a lot of people don't realise the decisions that this government can make without any full consultation, much less for the general public. But obviously these things can have a very real effect on the general public. So if you found that useful at all, please do like the video and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.